Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. Before we get started, I have just taken an antihistamine, but I still have a very blocked nose, so I'm going to sound a little bit sinusy for today's video. My apologies. For today's topic, I'm going to talk you through how I put together my writing notebook. For many years, I would write longhand into school exercise books. Then later on, I moved into Word or Pages. But eventually I moved into Scrivener and I've been using that program ever since. Now, Scrivener is a binder system that stores all the stuff you need for writing, like your manuscript, as well as all your outlines, your research, your notes, character profiles, whatever it is that you need for your writing, you can store all in one place. But even with this, I find I still like to make notes as I write with a pen in a notebook. Unfortunately, with a notebook, the thoughts get written down in the order that they come out of my head, which is not always, and very rarely, in fact, the order that I need to access them later. Then last May, I switched my time and task management system into a happy planner, which uses the disk system. And with that system, it means you can take sections out, put sections in, and move stuff around. And because all the bits that make up a disk notebook are separate, that means I can make a bespoke notebook just for my writing purposes with all of the sections that I need and all the pages that I need. And when I take notes, I can then move them around to the place that I need them to be when I need to find them. So let's go through the materials that I'm going to use for this little project. I have some Happy Planner covers that are from another planner that I've already used, and I'm going to use the covers and the discs for that. I'm just going to flip the covers over and use the insides of them. These dividers I've taken from a whole bunch of materials at work that we are currently recycling, and we're moving more into electronic materials 20 years after everyone else has done it. And this is the Happy Planner punch. It's a classic size. And I've also got my power punch out just in case I need it. And I don't think I actually do, spoiler alert. I need to measure everything and then cut it to size. So I have my ruler and a paper cutter and the few pens and pencils, etc., that I'm going to use. And the one thing that I actually did buy for this project, which was a Whitcoulls B5 spiral bound notebook, and it has 100 GSM paper, which I felt would be more sturdy than your normal printer paper, which is 80 GSM. So I started with the page size and punched it, and then realized that it was going to be a little bit long for the covers. So I trimmed it up. For some reason, I trimmed it at the top of the page, but later on I will go through and trim from the bottom, which made the pages a lot more tidy. So I'm moving on to trimming up the dividers now. Now, of course, these dividers are designed for an A4 document with 3 tabs down the side. And I wanted to keep the 3-tab system, but obviously I needed to trim the dividers up so that they didn't stick out in the tops and the bottoms of this size format, because a classic size is not the same as A4. And I also wanted to make sure that the middle divider was equidistant between the top and the bottom divider. So that required a little bit more thought and a little bit of thinking and measuring up that middle divider to make sure that it all looked tidy and fitted in with the rest of them. I need 18 tabs in total, and that's 6 main sections and 12 subsections. And I'm using the white tabs for the main sections, and then later on, you'll see soon, I'll have some coloured tabs that I'm going to use for those subsections. Ideally, I would have made the subdividers a little bit narrower than the main dividers, and then they sort of fit within each section. But I decided that I didn't really care that much, and I didn't want to lose too much page space by making everything narrower. So once I had the dividers trimmed and a page trimmed, I decided to put it all together by putting all the discs on the cover and then putting the dividers and the page inside and then checking it out to make sure it looked okay. I'm not looking for a polished product here, but I do want it to be quite tidy. And I decided I wanted to check all my measurements and that everything fitted together properly before I moved on to the rest of the cutting and trimming. So once I have the discs on the back and the front cover, I put all the dividers in and the page that I've already prepared earlier. And I'm just going to take a look at it all and make sure it's all fitting properly and looking good and that it's usable and workable and isn't going to annoy me with being too untidy. It all looks fine, so we're ready to go to the next stage. So, as you can imagine, once you've measured and cut one set of tabs, it's pretty easy to just go ahead and do the rest of the tabs. So, here I am doing some of the coloured ones that I'm going to use for my subfolders. So, I measured and cut all 18 of the tabs, and then they were ready to punch and put together in the final product. So now with all my dividers all cut to size and ready to go, and it looks all tidy, and I'm quite happy with that, I'm now going to go ahead and label all of those dividers. Of course, I already have a master plan that I'm working to. I didn't just suddenly start cutting and measuring and putting stuff together. You'll see me get my little reference out here, and I'm just putting all the titles in pencil because I want to test them out by actually using the notebook a few times and making sure that all those titles work before I decide to put them in pen. At the time of recording this, I am well into using this notebook and I haven't yet found any issues with these titles, so I will likely just leave them in place and then tutu with them later. Off camera, I tore out some more pages of the notebook and trimmed and punched them and put them in here ready to go. And now I am assembling the notebook with all the dividers in the place where they need to go. And I've left a couple of pages of notebook paper in between each one just so that it's ready to use when I'm ready to use it. Now we're heading into the flip through so you can see how everything fits together. First up in the white divider is the outline section. Anything story wide goes there. That could be themes, outlines, character development. Then we get into the real meat of the notebook with the beats section. I use the Save the Cat story structure and the corresponding beat sheets. And Act 1 is here on these first three random coloured dividers. We have the setup, which also includes the opening image and the theme stated beats. Then we go into the catalyst, and the final section in Act 1 is the debate. Then we're into Act 2, which is always the longest section of any book, and I've chosen blue dividers in here. We have the break into two, then fun and games, which also includes the B story, and the midpoint. Into the second half, it's bad guys close in, all is lost, and then the dark night of the soul. Too many, this amount of sections may be excessive, but when I scribble ideas down for a scene, I can then store the notes in the matching section ready to find later. I find that that is the system that seems to work for me while I'm writing. We're heading into Act 3 now, and I've chosen the green dividers for this act. We have break into 3, the finale, which is often split into 5 different sections, and then we have the final image in this last divider here in green. Then we head into the last few sections. I have a notes section which has quite a lot of paper. That's probably where I'll take most of the notes and then I'll move them to the proper place later on. I have a section called Edit, which is for any notes or checklists that I want to put in there for my editing. I have a blank section in case there's something that I haven't thought of. And right at the back, I've just labelled it Old. That's for any notes that I'm not quite ready to throw out yet and that I want to keep on hand. That's it for today. I hope this has been helpful for all of you who may want to construct something similar of your own. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.